And a good day to you, Explorer Nation, from a very chilly Macon, Georgia. John Lynskey back with the latest edition of Looking Back with Lynskey. And talk about early morning hours, all the way from Eugene, Oregon, where it's 5 o'clock in the morning. The best college offensive line coach in the country, Columbus Hall of Famer, my dear friend, Alex Mirabal. Good morning, Coach. How we doing, brother?
Morning, John. How you doing? Doing good, man. Here, and heck, making 42 degrees. It's 48 degrees here in Eugene, so we're on the same weather pattern. But doing great, Coach. Doing great here. Just preparing for. We got UCLA this coming Saturday in
One.
LA, so just preparing for them.
I appreciate the fact that you're taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this, but you guys work all the time. It's you're a grinder. Mario's a grinder. It's what you guys do. But we do appreciate you taking the time to do this, and it's great to see you, brother.
It's good to see you too, man. It's like it was awesome going down there, being down there a little bit over a week ago to see you in Macon when I was coming through on a recruiting trip, and it's now it's good to see you again and on a different media. But good to see you, brother.
Yes, and Al, the last time we did this, it was the night of the induction into the Columbus Sports Hall of Fame, which you was well earned and deserved for you. And we got through your high school career, and we left off in your decision to go into college coaching. So let's journey back to 2007. I remember this very well, the discussions we had about this. Take us back to your decision to join Mario, to join Coach Cristobal at FIU, and everything that went into that, the pros, the cons, the ups, the downs.
Yeah. So in 2007, in 2006, actually, because it was December of 2006 when Coach was going through the whole process of possibly being offered the job at the university at FIU. He was at the University of Miami at the time as an assistant, and he called and kind of asked me, hey, I might have the opportunity to take on this job at FIU. What do you think about the opportunity in terms of for himself? Do you think it's got potential? Why haven't they won there? All that kind of stuff, because obviously every job is not a good job. Every head coaching job is not a good head coaching job if you're not going to have the support and the structure to be able to succeed, right? So we kind of talked about that. So I was just really talking about it with him, Coach, for him, trying to give him personal advice as to whether I thought it would be good for him or not, and I did. I told him, I said, listen, Coach, I think, if you go in and you do it right and you get the right structure in there and you go out and recruit South Florida hard, I think it's important, because, when we were down there, being a high school coach down there at Columbus High School, at Braddock High School, you really didn't see a big presence by FIU in the local schools, right? So I thought if he got in there, and went and dug into that local talent and showed a presence, and went after kids, that you would be able to turn that program around, So that was kind of the advice I gave Coach, right? At the time, John, I don't know if you remember or not, but I was trying to go on a different path in my career, my life. I was actually going to step down if I hadn't already from coaching there at Columbus, and I was just going to teach.
Yeah.
I was going to do that. Needed to change, wanted to go in a different direction, yada yada yada, whatever. So I was going to do that, and Mario didn't know that. So I was just going to do that because at the end of the day, I love teaching. I love everything about the U.S. government. So that's kind of what I wanted to kind of stay in, and just be a dad and be a husband and do that, and quote unquote get more of a normal schedule, and then so coach ends up saying, you know what, I'm going to take the job. I said, oh man, Coach, that's awesome. And then he goes, I remember it was that we were talking like at 11:30 p.m. at night. So if you know Coach Cristobal, a lot of his conversations take place in after hours because he's been working during the day. And I said, man, Coach, that's awesome. And then he goes, well, I'd like for you to come with me. And so I asked Berta, and Berta goes, well, we don't have to move, so why not? So it really was just about that, John, right there. And once I got Berta's blessing, it was over. That's what we decided to do. And luckily I have a wife that's extremely independent, extremely tough, extremely strong minded. So without that, college coaching doesn't work. If you don't have the support at home from your significant other, which I obviously do, and it's just a matter of when I get home, hey, don't screw up the schedule, so, and because of her support and stuff, so we went, right. And I still lived in the same house, right. I just when I would go down 102nd Avenue, instead of turning right on 32nd Street, I would turn left to go to FIU, but it was almost equidistant for where I live. So, that was kind of it, John, and then when we got there, John, they had nothing, So, I mean, Coach Chris, we had to create a weight room. We had to create a meal program for the kids. So it was really grassroots. They had been Division I only for a year, and they had been in existence for 5 years. Division I for 1 year. So I mean, it was, Coach, we had no film, no nothing. So everything had to be started from scratch. And in a lot of ways, at the beginning, you're like, holy smokes, what did we get ourselves into? You would think that to yourself, but at the same time, you learn through the school of hard knocks, So, and that's obviously benefited Coach in his future here as a head coach here at the University of Oregon, and it's benefited me. That you had to make do with a little. So when people say, I hear sometimes people might complain here at Oregon, hey, we don't have this. I'm like, hey, you want to know you want to know what not having something is. And to me, obviously, I used to, there at Columbus, I used to, my locker was my classroom, so I used to change in my classroom after school. You make sure no one's around, you change, or shit, sometimes, FCC is going to get it. Or sometimes you'd have to change outside by your car, whatever. So, heck, that junky locker room at FIU, that was a Taj Mahal to me, hey man, sorry, the people would say, hey, our offices here aren't very big. I say, well, a lot better than the office I didn't have, so everything's perspective, right?
It's all relative. Sure.
Yeah. So we made the jump there, and the biggest negative, John, and I'm not gonna lie, the biggest negative with college coaching is, you do sacrifice family time. It's and again, if you don't have a strong wife and if you don't have a supportive, I have 2 sons. If you don't have supportive kids, then it doesn't work, because you got to be able to go to work and your mind's got to be free of, man, I'm missing this or I'm missing that. And that's where a lot of the college coaches and their marriages end up going sideways, or they end up leaving the profession. So, but that's something that, again, luckily I have my wife and my 2 sons who support me, and I make them part of it. Coach, I make them part of it when I get home. If they ask me a question, hey, how's the offensive line doing? Or, hey, how's the wide receiver? I talk to them about it. Yeah. I talk to them about it, because if not, it's then they don't feel that they're part of it. So the greatest joys that I have are after a game, being able to share the victories with them. And, so we beat Ohio State, for instance, and they're almost as jubilant as we were in the locker room. And that to me is awesome. And when I get to put them on an airplane and take them to a bowl game and stuff like that, those are the rewards that they get, So it's just, you sacrifice time, Coach, you sacrifice time, which you don't get back. There's things that I've missed in my son's lives that, because I got responsibilities. I got responsibilities at home, but I also got responsibilities here at work. I've got 22 children. I got 20 in the offensive line room, and I got 2 at home. And that's the God's honest truth. That's how I've always done it. I did it when I was at Columbus. I did it when I was Braddock. I did it at FIU, and I did it at Marshall, and I did it here at Oregon. I'll never do it any other way. It's a promise that I give to their parents in recruiting. And Berta's all in. Berta knows all the recruits. She knows all their parents. She has relationship with all their parents, just like I do. And so, everybody tells me, hey, do your two sons play football? I said, no, but I've got 110 that do, so I don't live vicariously through my sons. I don't care that they play sports.
Yeah.
I don't care that they don't play sports. All I care is that they're good human beings, and that's it.
And they are.
And that's it.
Yeah. I think back to when you guys went to FIU, and there were a couple of things. I remember a prominent local high school coach said it was a dead end job. It was a career killer. Nobody in their right mind would take that job. And I think that person and others underestimated. Yes, FIU was in terrible shape, as you mentioned. What they didn't factor in, the X factor, is the fact that you and Coach Cristobal, and as the head of the program, particularly Coach Cristobal, were grinders. Yeah, and it's a bad program, but you can make it better if you're willing to work. And you guys had to change a culture. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk about how, never forget the X's and O's. Talk about the challenge of changing a culture in a program, Alex.
Well, culture is a unique way of life. So you got to establish that. You got to establish what are going to be your principles, values, and morals of the culture of your program. And it's really simple. The culture of our program here at Oregon, just like it was at FIU, is the culture that Coach Cristobal was brought up in, right? It's the morals, values, and principles that his grandfather and grandmother and mom and dad raised him in, and I know that because obviously I've known Mario for 36 years. We've been friends for 36 years. His grandparents became like grandparents to me. His parents became like parents to me. So I know the fabric of who he is, and that's what he does. So it's not hard for him. It's because it's how he was raised. He doesn't know any other way, So, but it's a daily deal, John. It's a daily deal. Like, we don't, we wear our pants at our waist. We don't have hats in buildings, and it is what it is. It is what it is. That's the way he was raised, So that's the way I was raised. I was raised like that by my grandparents and my parents, that you don't wear a hat in the building. It's just what we do, So even now, when I get to the office early in the morning, if I have a hat on, I take it off, even though there's nobody around, right? Just because that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
So what your goal is on a daily basis, John, is to continue to instill the principles, values, and morals of that culture, so that the kids respect it and don't fear it. So there's a difference between the two. So yes. where the kids are following and doing the things, we don't wear hoodies, so we don't wear hoodies in the buildings, right? So when they walk in the building and you see the kids dropping their hoodies on their own, to me, that's they're respecting the culture, So, but at the beginning, obviously, they're doing it out of fear, of the consequences. And as you go, as they take it in, then they start doing it because it's what's right, and because they respect the culture, and they see that the little things, tucking your shirt in. We tuck our shirts in at practice, right? Everybody looks the same. We tuck our shirts in at practice. Why? Because of the fact that, we have to create that oneness. You have to, when you're a team, you've got to root out the selfishness. You've got to root out the individualism. You have to, Coach, you have to do that. And anybody who sees it any other way, that's not the culture of our program. You know what I'm saying, John? We are a before time deal. So if a meeting starts at 8, your butt's not strolling in at 7:59. If a meeting starts at 8, 7:50, we're rolling. That's just the way we are. That's just the way we are. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. So just little things, John, like that. But those little things are big things, right? Because there's no little things, right? So, but it's hard, Coach. It's hard. It's hard because you'd rather take over a program that has no culture than a program that has a bad culture. We had to, and obviously the program had a culture. So we had to go in there and change it. Your butt's going to class. You're going to be before time. You're going to be to meetings early. You're going to, when you're in meetings, you're not going to slouch down. You're going to sit up. All those little things, John, that have nothing to do with football, but have everything to do with life. And so that's the way that coach runs the program. That's the way that, it's easy for me because that's the way I was raised, So in a lot of ways, anybody that works for Coach Cristobal, if you weren't raised that way, then you have to get into that way, So it's important to hire the right people around you, to the right support staff, because he can't see all 110 guys every day, So
Sure.
It's important that you have that. And what coach says is, our culture, we have an O here. We have the O. I can't point where it is, but I have the O.
Yeah, the other side.
That O never comes off your chest.
Sure.
That O never comes off your chest. So you're always representing the O. You can't have a different culture in the football program in the building than you do when you're walking around campus, than you do when you're walking in the community. That's not what this is about. Because if you have a different culture when you leave the building, then you really don't have a culture at all, right? So that's what we do. It's a daily deal, coach. It's a daily deal, and it's not a slogan. It's not something you put on T-shirts. It's just an everyday way of life.
You guys were able to succeed at FIU from the ground up. I mean, you started from zero. You ended up winning a Sun Belt Conference championship. You go to 2 bowl games. I mean, you really turned it around. You proved all the naysayers wrong. You did it the Columbus way, the Cristobal way, the Mirabal way. And then it's funny how things work out. A decision was made to make a coaching change. And that's part of life in college football, as you've made it very clear to me. You're only as good as your last practice sometimes.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're out of a job. I remember when that happened, and you were at a crossroads because you could have gone back to high school. You could have, but you made the decision to pursue a collegiate career. And so talk about the end of FIU and then the next, because you were right. You lived right down the street. I mean, that's a unique situation, you were still home. That's not the case anymore. So take us to Marshall University, Alex.
Yeah. So coach, we got fired. We got fired on December 7th of 2012. Right now, I won't forget the day, and, they just decided to let us go. And it's kind of say, okay, this is a business, right? So then what do you do next? So I was literally, coach, I'm not going to lie. I was literally, and that's why, I know he's got his things, but I hold him in high esteem, brother Kevin. I was sitting in the parking lot. I had just gotten back from Chicago recruiting that morning. And my grandmother was in the hospital. She had suffered a stroke. So I was going to go see her. And before I went back into the office, because we had some official visitors coming in that weekend there at FIU. And as I'm about to enter her hospital room, my phone rings. And it's Coach Cristobal. And I'm like, hey, coach, what's going on? He goes, not good. And I'm like, oh, man, something happened to one of our players. One of our players got in trouble last night, whatever, right? And he goes, hey, they're letting me go. I go, what do you mean they're letting me go? He goes, yeah, they're letting me go. I'm like, what? So whatever. And so instead of entering my grandmother's hospital room, I go back outside and he goes, hey, listen, I think you need to go tell your wife, tell Berta that we got let go before she hears it in the news. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I get in my car. I start heading over to St. Brendan's High because Berta taught at St. Brendan's High at the time, right?
Yeah.
And immediately my sister-in-law calls me, says, hey, somebody at work just told me that this is happening. And I'm like, yeah, listen, keep it under wraps. I'm about to go see your sister and let her know. So whatever. I go by St. Brendan's High, I tell Berta, hey, we got let go, whatever. Obviously she's not, what the hell are we going to do? So I drive over to FIU and I'm about to get off my car. And I get a call from brother Kevin Hannibal. And he's like, listen, I heard what happened. Yada, yada, yada. You always have a home here at Columbus.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot to me, meant a lot to me and still does. And that's why that place is different. Right. So, and then John, so I was from December to February to February 1st, when I got hired at Marshall, I was sitting sitting at home figuring out what to do, how to do it, and I was going back to high school coaching, and I was perfectly fine with that, coach. To be honest with you,
yes, of course
I was perfectly fine with that. Until an opportunity opened up, at Marshall, at Marshall University, an opportunity opened up, and that opportunity opened up because the guy who was the offensive coordinator at Marshall for the 2 previous years had been with us at FIU. In our second, and we were at FIU 6 years before we got let go. We were there for 6 years, so he was the offensive coordinator there year 2 and year 3. His name is Bill Legg, and so Coach Legg was from West Virginia. So after his second year at FIU, he got the opportunity to go and be the offensive coordinator at Marshall. So he was up there, right? And so that was my connection there, right? And so I'm sitting at home, Coach, on middle of January, and I get a call from Coach Cristobal. At this time, Coach Cristobal is hired on as the associate head coach, tight ends coach at the University of Miami under Al Golden at that time, right? And he calls and said, "Hey, listen, I just talked to Doc Holliday, and Doc Holliday, obviously a great name, but he's the head football coach at Marshall." And he goes, "I just talked to Doc Holliday, and they're probably going to call you to see if you're interested in being their offensive line coach." And I'm like, "Well, coach, they already have an offensive line coach." He goes, "No, he just left." I said, "Okay." So sure enough, the next morning I get a call from Bill Legg, and it's like, "Hey, listen, our offensive line coach just left. Would you be interested?" I said, "Heck yeah, I'll take the job right now." He goes, "No." He goes, "I'm not going to let," he goes, "I'm not going to let a Cuban take a job in Huntington, West Virginia without first coming to see it." I'm like, "Well, hell, Bill, I don't have a job right now." I said, "I'll take it, I'll take it sight unseen." He goes, "No, we're not doing that." And him and Berta and his wife, and we're really tight, right? So about a week later, I go up there and I visit with Berta to interview and stuff like that, and I interview, and at the end of the weekend, I get offered the job by Coach Holliday, heck, 5 years. I ended up spending 5 years in Huntington, West Virginia, and completely different from anything I've ever been, anywhere I've ever been, John. Obviously, I'm in Miami, Florida, and I go all the way to Huntington, West Virginia, and it's culturally different. It's socioeconomically very different, but the people were phenomenal. I mean, the people are the people from the Appalachian Mountains, man, and they were great to me, great to me and to Berta and to my family. And Doc Holliday and Bill Legg will always be special to me because when I was on my damn knees, they picked me up. So
yes. And Al, and again, we've talked about this. People that don't understand situations in sports, when Coach Cristobal took the FIU job and he hired you, people were ignorant enough to say, "Well, he hired Alex because he's his best friend."
Yeah,
which is beyond stupid when you think about it, because he hired you because you were qualified, not because you were his best friend. Because why would a college coach jeopardize his own future by hiring an unqualified person? You want the best person for the job.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. I think the thing about Marshall, Al, and it was important, is that you established yourself as one of the up-and-coming offensive line coaches in the country on your own, totally on your own. And I think that was a very important moment for you.
Yeah, and you know what, John, I do say this. I think it's when people say that about Coach Cristobal and I think that's fair. I think it's fair. I think it's fair for people to question that initially. I really
think about it. Yeah,
I really do. I do think, and I don't blame them for doing that. And then obviously, a lot of times in the world, it's who you know that helps you get the job, but it's what you know and how you do it that helps you keep the job. And I think but I'm perfectly fine when people think about that with Coach and I, because I do think that with time, they'll realize, okay, this guy is qualified or this guy's not qualified, and I think I was able to prove that at FIU. And then when I went to Marshall, I'm sure it was the same thing when I went to Marshall, John. It was like, well, he only got the job because he knows Bill Legg. And that's
Well, of course.
I'm comfortable in my own skin.
You put it perfectly. Yes, many times you get an opportunity because you know someone,
Yeah.
but if you don't produce, it doesn't matter.
No doubt.
Particularly in college athletics.
No doubt. And so, Johnny, I faced that when I went to FIU too, obviously, and every day in this profession, every day, you have to prove yourself. You have to prove yourself every day. And that's not pressure, that's reality, right? So,
Sure.
So I had to do that when I went to Marshall. Obviously, he's just here because he's friends with Bill Legg, I'm sure. And that's cool. And 5 years later, we won a bunch of games there, won a bunch of championships there. And so at the end of the day, it proved that, okay, yeah, he was friends with Bill Legg, and I'm still friends with Bill Legg, and but he was qualified, and then when I got here to Oregon, I'm sure it was the same way from people on the staff. Well, he's only here because of his relationship with Coach Cristobal, and he's Coach Cristobal's buddy, and they've known each other since high school. And that's fine. I mean, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm not gonna apologize for Mario and I being brothers. But what I can do is I can go work my butt off every day to show that I belong and that I'm part of it. And that's what you do, right? So that's what you do. And I'm sure if I leave here and I go somewhere else, and where I go somewhere else, I know somebody, it's going to be the same thing. Yeah. So you can either lose sleep over it and worry about it, or you can just go do your job and let other people say, you know what, this guy's pretty damn good. So when it's time for me to go, and guys that I've worked with here might recommend me or stuff like that, then that's how it is, So, but Marshall was unbelievable to me, unbelievable to my family. Love the people there. It's a passionate fan base, and it's football is the fabric of that community because of what happened on November 14th of 1970 with the plane crash. So it was cool, man. It was cool to be part of that. It was cool to be there for 5 years, and I thank Coach Holliday, thank Coach Legg, and it was awesome. It was an awesome experience for my family, and the only reason it worked, John, again, I keep going back to her. It was Berta, when I said, honey, she goes, yeah, we're going. I'm like, awesome. I said, listen, now, if we do this, we're going to get into this. If we decide to go to Marshall, we're going to get into this college coaching carousel deal, are you good with it? And she was, and John, so I've said this, I've never moved. Berta's moved twice.
Berta's moved. Yeah.
And that's, Coach, that's a God's honest truth.
No, of course it is. Yeah.
I was up at Huntington, West Virginia, working already. So I was up there from February 2013 through July 2013 by myself, while she was down taking care of the boys, while she was down in Miami, packing the house up and doing all that stuff. And same thing happened in 2018 when I left Huntington to come to Eugene. Coach, I've never seen our house get packed and moved. That's been all her. So, and then when they got here on April 2nd. And I only remember that because it's my birthday. So they got here on April 2nd of 2018. Coach, I mean, I had a spring scrimmage that day when the moving truck got here. So when I say I have not moved, I haven't moved. She's moved twice. So she's, Coach, I tell people she's tougher than I am now. She's tougher than I am. She's more independent than I am. It doesn't work if you don't have that support at home. And I do. And that's why it's been, I don't know every day that I'm far from home because she's here and the boys are here. So it's kind of how it works.
That's well stated, Alex. It really is. So a great run at Marshall, 4 bowl games in 5 years. And so your resume is increasing. And then this wonderful opportunity to work with Mario again and take it up to the next level. And you guys have got it done.
So Coach Cristobal, when was it? In December of 2017, I'm at Marshall. We're preparing to go play in a bowl game, the New Mexico Bowl in Albuquerque, New Mexico. we're going to play Colorado State. And the head coach here at the time at Oregon was Willie Taggart.
Yeah.
And Coach Taggart, Mario was on the staff here, right? Mario was the assistant head coach, offensive coordinator, and offensive line coach. And so Coach Taggart leaves Oregon and is going to go to Florida State. So they name the athletic director here, Rob Mullins, names Mario as the interim head coach, right? And while I'm preparing to go play the bowl game against Colorado State, Oregon is preparing to go play Boise State in the Las Vegas Bowl, and we both play the same day, right? We both play the same day, and so like 5 or 6 days before the bowl game, I'm in Huntington. I get a call at my desk, and it's from Mario, and I'm like, "What's going on, Coach? How you doing?" And he's like, "Hey, you know what? They're going to make me the head coach here at Oregon." I go, get out of here. I go, get out of here. He goes, "Yeah, they're going to make me the permanent head coach." I'm like, "Man, coach," I go, "My coach, man, that's awesome. That's awesome." And he starts talking about, hey, the possibility of you coming. And I said, "Listen, coach, it's not about me, man. I'm so happy for you and excited for you. And man, just go do a great job." And obviously he's got to do his due diligence as who he wants to hire on staff and stuff like that. So, but that's when I find out that there's a possibility that I'll end up out here at Oregon, So I end up coming out here to interview in January because obviously he knows me, but the people on the staff don't know me, right? So he's got to make sure that I'm a fit for them and they're a fit for me or whatever, So I come out here, boom, and the rest is history. Then he hires me on, and again, John, I guarantee you 99.9% of the people, except for him, thought the only reason I got the job was because of my relationship with him. And it is what it is. It is what it is.
But you've produced, and I think you would also agree in the college profession, friends have to fire friends sometimes when they don't produce, and that's all part of it.
Yeah, and you know what, Coach? That'll never happen with me because I'll step down before it happens.
Exactly.
Because that's part of I would never put Coach in that spot.
Of course not. Because
I'll know when it's time to say when and when it's time to go, and we all have that time at some point, right? So, so I got here, and then we just kind of rolled with it, obviously, and then it becomes the next proving. Well, you did it at FIU, you did it at Marshall. Well, this is Power 5, So then you got to prove that you can do it at Power 5 and all that stuff. And so great, man. You're always having to prove yourself. You're always having to prove yourself, and that's cool. And that's everybody does, And we got here, and Coach again worked on changing the culture of the program, John, and I think every Saturday when you turn on the TV, you see our culture. You see a tough, physical, and a gritty bunch. And we're tough, we're physical, we're gritty, and we're resilient. Now, whether that's good enough or not, I don't know, but that's who we are because that's who he is. He's a tough, gritty, resilient, physical human being. And your program is a reflection of your head coach. So when you watch the Oregon Ducks on tape, you're watching Mario Cristobal. And that's how it is. When you're watching whoever university, you're watching their head coach. So, and I firmly believe that. You'll never say that the Oregon Ducks are soft just because that's not how he is. You'll never say that they took the easy way because that's not, you'll never say that they didn't answer the bell. Right. And that's just the way that it is. So, you are what you put on tape. That's what we tell them. You are what you put on tape. And I tell that to offensive line, our offensive line, they should be a reflection of me. They should be a reflection of this program. And that's what I tell them. That's what I tell them. And I take it personal. When we put anything on tape that's not tough, that's not physical, that's not resilient, that's not gritty. I take that personal. And
I hear you.
That's the way I coach. That's the way Coach coaches, and that's the way that this program is run.
You know, Alex, and we have talked about this, and people actually got to see it on national television uh, in the Ohio State game. You and Coach Cristobal, myself, you know, we were fortunate enough to be coached by Dennis Lavelle,
Yeah,
and Mario has said on countless occasions, the Oregon program is a reflection of Columbus football, and we're proud explorers, and to see that the old school methods, the Lavelle methods, still work in today's world, and they can work, and to see it come full circle after the Ohio State game was one of my favorite moments ever as an
yeah,
explorer.
yeah. And I would say that that's not only does it work, but it's a separator.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the separator because in a society that now tries to find any, in my opinion, in a society that tries to find and tries to give every excuse for why something is not getting done. We're not about that. We're not about that. We're not about that life, like they say. We're about, hey, there's no excuses. You're going to be resilient. You're going to be tough. You're going to be physical. And that's who we are, right? And that's who Coach Lavelle was, or still is, and that's why I think, is it a coincidence that all those students, all those football players look up to that man and that he's our mentor, our role model, our father figure? It's not, it's not. And that's where I think a lot of people misinterpret. That guy prepared us for the adversity and resistance and the struggle that life brings all of us on a daily basis. That's what that man, Dennis Lavelle, instilled in all of us, right? And that, whether you're a construction worker, whether you own a company, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a dentist, whether you're a sports agent, you carry that Coach Lavelle trait. You carry that trait of him, of Zorzi, of Dean, of Foyle, of Lynskey, of Swanson, of Green, of Riley. You carry that.
Yeah.
You carry that, right? Because those men, that's what they were about, Coach. They were about, hey, being tough, being physical, being resilient, and not backing down. Right? And did we win state championships? No. But you got a bunch of guys who've won in life. And I know that sounds cliche-ish and corny, but look at it. Coach, look at it. Whether you're talking about Alonzo Highsmith, who's in the front office for the Seattle Seahawks, whether you talk about Mike Shula, who's the quarterback coach of the Denver Broncos, whether you talk about Mario Cristobal, whether you talk about John Lynskey, whether you talk about all those, the doctors, the lawyers, and stuff like that, they all credit that guy. There's Alex, a reason.
You and I never would have gone into teaching and coaching if it wasn't for Dennis Lavelle.
No, because at the end of the day, Coach, he impacted lives.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what a teacher and a coach is supposed to do. You're supposed to impact lives, and that's what he did, and he still does on a daily basis. So when I hear myself talk, or I hear Coach Cristobal talk to the team, I heard that on 87th Avenue and 32nd Street.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's where people missed the boat on what that guy was all about. Yeah. And he was just different. He was just different and what people miss about him, Coach, is how much he loved all of us without having to tell us that.
That wasn't going to happen, but his actions spoke volumes. Yeah.
100%. So now he's quote unquote the grandfather, right? Who's now ridiculously proud of his kids and his grandkids.
Yeah.
And that's who he is. And that guy right there, other than my father and my grandfather, which I think most of us would say the same thing, that guy's had the most impact on all our lives. And I'm forever grateful, forever grateful, forever indebted to him and to that staff. When you guys let me sit in the back of the room and just take it all in, Coach Cristobal got his PhD in coaching when he spent his time with Nick Saban. I got my PhD in coaching when I spent my time with all of you guys. I mean, I learned how to break down film watching Mike Dean do it.
Yeah.
You know, the meticulousness with which he did it. I learned how to grade offensive line film watching Fred Foyer do it. You know, and those are things, Coach. You know, I learned how to do lesson plans and my practice plans and stuff like that watching you do it. You know, and those are things that, you know, that I treasure. And I don't think I know when I go around and I recruit and I go see high school. I think that's missing. That's missing. That type of stuff is missing. Columbus is very lucky now that they have a guy in Dave Dunn that does it like that. But it's missing most places, Coach.
I agree with you. You know, now we're very fortunate. There's a very small number of us that had the pleasure of playing for Dennis Lavelle, coaching with Dennis Lavelle, and then coaching with Dave Dunn.
Yeah.
And you know, let's face it, Dave is one of your best friends. He's one of my best friends, and you played a key role in getting Dave to come back. And you talk about a wonderfully full circle experience. You even got to coach with Dave for a year at Marshall. So it is a bit incestuous, and it is who you know. And I think we know the right people, Alex. I believe that.
Well, and I think, Coach, you know, you know what I know what Columbus is about. I know what it should be about. And I thought it was important to help Columbus get a guy like that there. And so I thought Dave would be perfect fit to go back there. And he's done a great job now that when he's been back there, like we all knew he would. And, you know, the first time that Coach Dunn was there at Columbus, we didn't win championships, but he did a great job and impacted that program, you know. And, you know, I think, Coach, one other thing on Coach Lavelle that people miss out, Coach, that Joker was a hell of a teacher now.
Oh, yeah.
He was an unbelievable math teacher, Coach, an unbelievable math teacher. And that's why you see a lot of guys. I mean, because everybody that's been to Columbus, they didn't all play football. But that guy, Coach, I remember him telling me one time, he goes, don't ever let him take you out of the classroom. That's exactly what he told me. Don't ever let them take you out of the classroom. Because when he became the head football coach, I think at Columbus, Brother Sheehan had talked about, you know, we're going to reduce your class load. And he said, heck no. So he impacted the school. If you're a head football coach, if you're a head high school football coach, you ought to impact the whole school, not just the football program.
Correct.
Right? Dennis Lavelle impacted the entire school. Okay. When teachers had issues, they went to Dennis Lavelle.
Yeah.
Why? Because they knew that your head football coach should be, other than your principal, should be the most respected person on campus. If he is not, then he ain't doing it right. And Coach, I got zero reservations in stating that. And for all of us that were there in the 80s and in the 90s and into the early 2000s and stuff like that, the Columbus High School was everybody equated that with Dennis Lavelle. And I really believe that, Coach. And I believe that's the way, you know, it used to be. And I think that's missing now in high school football. It is.
And that's why we're fortunate to have an influential person, a good person, a role model. Like Dave Dunn back. And Alex, you know, not to blow smoke at you because I don't have to, you loved teaching. You were the best government teacher I ever saw. And then you have told me that the one thing you miss about high school, you missed the classroom.
Coach, I miss the classroom. I miss it every day. I don't miss grading. Okay. Coach, I hated grading. I hated it. But I love teaching. I love teaching now. And I hate grading the film. after the game. I love watching it. I love watching it because here was my whole thing, Coach. When I'm watching film, I want to be able to watch film and critique instead of watching film and grading it. Because when you're grading it, I think you're just trying to get through it. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I know.
So I like to be able to just watch and comment on, hey, on this play, we should have done this footwork technique wise instead of just checking a box, you know? So, but Coach, I miss teaching. I still do. You know, I have to go dust off and catch up a little bit more on government. Government is still a passion to me. Specifically, I love, I don't know why, but I love the Supreme Court, always have. The intricacies of it and the behind the scenes stuff on it. And I love it. I love it. And I do miss it, Coach. I do miss it because, again, you can impact so many people, you know, more than just, sometimes I feel like I'm only impacting the offensive line here, you know, which is 20 guys, as opposed to when you're a teacher, you get 100 something kids coming through your classroom on a daily basis, and you can impact them, you know, in terms of doing things right, in terms of, you know, so I hope that I've impacted more than just football players when I was teaching, you know what I'm saying? And and that's cool. And that's cool. I've got as much pride in that than I do in, you know. So it's interesting, Coach. We just had a game this past weekend, and so the first quarterback we ever had at FIU, named Paul McCall, who was tough as heck, started for us for 2 years there, our first 2 years there, right? And then because he was a junior and senior, and so him and his wife just came out here, right, and spent the weekend at my house, and Coach, I didn't even know I had a relationship with him. You know, but obviously I impacted him. Yeah. And, you know, and he and I have been communicating, and him and his wife were living in Hawaii, and now they live back in Virginia. But when they were moving from Hawaii to Virginia this past summer, they stopped in Eugene, and they came in and saw Coach Cristobal and I. And Coach, let me tell you something. We were hard on that guy. To the point where I thought, man, this guy probably hates us now in life. Coach, he was grateful, thankful. And Coach, he's got a high-ranking job, right? And he's got a doctorate degree in electrical engineering. And to me, Coach, even though I had zero idea I had any impact on his life, zero. Here it is 15 years later, him and his wife are stayed in my house for 4 days, you know? And to me, that's what it's, Coach, at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
And nobody does it better than you, Alex. And you and I have been down some roads together, and it doesn't matter how far apart we are, or the distance or time, anything else. The bonds that we have forged together, all of us, that chosen few of us, is something I treasure. And listen, I know how busy you are, and I truly appreciate the fact that at 5 o'clock in the morning, when you got a full practice schedule in front of you, you took the time to do this. You know how much I love you. You know what you mean to me. And, you know, brother, I can't wait to see you again.
Hey, no doubt. And hey, I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you went and are doing the stuff with the Allman Brothers, the foundation. And, you know, it's a lot deeper. The foundation that you have, John, there in Macon, that you guys are running there is a lot deeper than just that museum. You know, that's part of it, but the impact that you guys are having in that community there, bringing the arts to those kids, the underprivileged kids and underprivileged community there is awesome. You know, because you are having an impact on a daily basis. You know, and like we talk about, John, right? It's not about having a successful life; it's about having a significant life. And to me, a significant life is a life that impacts the lives of others. And if your life is not doing that, then in my opinion, your life is not fulfilled. You know, I try, and I know you've done it, and we try on a daily basis to be significant. And when I say significant, it has nothing to do with status, has nothing to do with success. It has all to do with impact. and on a daily basis, as a human being, you have the opportunity to impact people either positively or negatively, and that's your choice. And luckily, I was raised by guys like you, by guys like Coach Lavelle, by Fred, to impact people positively. And so I get to do that. I get to do that again today. I get to do it tomorrow. And sometimes when you impact people positively, John, sometimes you got to jump their butt. You got to jump their butt, and you got to be willing to kick them in the tail, because that's at that moment they need that correction. They need that correction in that direction. And I think sometimes that's where that's missing. In our life, in our society, in coaching. And so hey, keep being impactful, brother, because you are. And I love you, and you know how much you mean to me and my family. And man, the only thing is, man, I'm disappointed. I went to Macon. You haven't been up to Eugene. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Oh, thank you, my brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
You live in a great place, no doubt about it. And,
yeah, and hey, what's pretty cool, John? Here's what's pretty cool. I've got on. We're playing Saturday, and I know Raul Martinez, who played left tackle for us there at Columbus High School, right? And so, like Raul, this is about 2 months ago. He hit me up. He's going to the game against UCLA, so he'll be down there. And then for the Washington State game, which is here at home, Lane Jackson, Terry Dowling, and Ryan Canales, they're all coming. And you, Coach, you don't know, when these guys come out here, they think that, man, thanks for having me out here. I'm like, you guys don't understand. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a tribute. It's a tribute to the relationships we have, and man, you guys keep doing what you're doing. Be 1-0 again this week against UCLA, brother.
Coach, that's all that matters, and all that matters is that last play. People are either going to love us or hate us. So,
well, listen, we will always love you, and give our best to Coach Cristobal, and thank you again, Alex. And so, Explorer Nation, thank you for this opportunity. It's been a pleasure having Coach Mirabal. So take care of yourselves. Coach Mirabal, good luck this week. And until next time, Explorer Nation, Adelante, take it easy. I'll see you, Al.
All right, brother. Be good now.
Thanks.